kann in Deutsch probieren, aber ich glaube, da sind sehr viele Leute hier, das auch nur Englisch sprechen. Nein? Okay. So we go slow. If there's any question about the English, I'll try to translate in German. So we'll just go slow. This whole thing is interactive, okay? This whole thing. So please interrupt me. Please ask me questions at any time, and we'll stop and we'll talk about it. Because I actually haven't planned anything. All right. So we'll get through it, but I have lots of stories to tell, and I hope I can help you guys. Oh, most important for me, big thanks to Mark. What a great event. It's places like this where we need to have arm wrestling with different groups of people. Tattoo people are super cool, so if we can show them our world, it's just better. And once again, I didn't come quite as prepared as I wanted, but I've got terrible Chinese-made straps. So there's one, like that's 10. You don't get 10 of them, but just split them up. They're from China. They're like, you know, so-so. I use it as a belt. They're not the best straps, but they work okay. So where do I start? When I was very young, when I was a really little kid, I fell in love with strength. Okay, I was very little. I just realized that I thought that being strong was super cool. I read Pumping Iron, and I saw the girl on Arnold's back, and I was like, that's cool. And I just kind of dedicated my life to trying to get stronger every single day. That's what I've been living for I'd say the past probably 40 years, and I'm 44 years old today. I think that really the key to every journey is really knowing exactly where you're going. And that's really the most important thing. That's what I try and tell my kids. I'm like, all the details, they don't matter. They don't really matter so long as you have your destination. And long ago, I just vowed to be the very best strength person I could, and that turned into me falling in love with arm wrestling. I was in high school. I used to arm wrestle with my friends. I always loved it. But then I met a real arm wrestler, someone who really understood arm wrestling like many of us here do. And I learned how simple it was and how complicated it was at the same time, and how I just couldn't believe that this 160-pound guy could do anything he wanted with me. It was a very interesting feeling, and I fell in love with that. Every day I've invested, okay? And I think that the key to success is how much you can invest. And it's difficult to be brave enough to invest everything into your dreams. But if you can get there, that's where you really start to get a feeling of freedom in your life. And it's taken me a long time, but I'd say I've gotten more free as I've aged. And it's as a result of following arm wrestling. So it's a crazy thing. I'd like to talk about the last year, because that's about all I can remember. Okay, so let me take you back to, and the great thing is like, I hate to lose, but I love to lose, because it's the only time you really ever learn anything. When you lose, you know, you get knocked down, and you have to reevaluate things, and that's where all the good stuff comes from. I learned really 3 things the last year that are very valuable to me that I can share with you guys. The first thing that I learned is when Todd beat me. It was very valuable to me because I thought that I knew arm wrestling. I thought that I got it. I thought I understood. And it's so neat that after doing something and putting so much energy into it, after 26 years, you know, you can still keep learning. And you can learn not small things, but big things still. Okay, so I don't think the learning ever stops. And to me, that's fun. I learned the value of the hand. I used to think that arm wrestling was rising and cupping and resistance to cupping, which is rolling, and keeping your arm inside your body, which is, you know, supination. But I learned that in the strap especially, the grip has a vital spot in this game, which I didn't really fully understand until I was defeated with it. Michael Todd defeated me, and the key to his victory was in the grip. Anyways, now for the last year I've been training my grip every single workout, and I think it's made a big difference. The second thing that I really learned was strength, okay? I went to Russia. Let me tell you, those guys are strong. And I'm not just talking about Dennis. They're all strong, okay? It's amazing. To me, it was so inspiring to meet Dennis. It's very interesting to me. I'll tell you a little story about my life. Take a little segue. So I was a soldier for most of my life. I did 20 years with the Canadian Armed Forces. Great time. I loved every minute of it. And one of the things that a soldier realizes is that you can only really be a good soldier if you're willing to die for your cause. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
You know, this is what you have to understand. This is what you have to believe to be a good soldier. And what I did was I came to the arm wrestling table as my hobby, as my fun, as my recreation. And what I discovered in Russia was that excellence, true excellence, in any field requires you to be willing to give everything. And that's what I saw, and that's what I witnessed. And to me, it was inspiring. I witnessed a guy who had made himself strong to a level which, to me, I didn't even know existed. Anyways, I took a lot away from that. I saw that, and I realized that their culture was a little bit different from ours. And I tried to see what they were doing differently to make them so strong. Because I'm going to tell you, that culture is stronger than the North American culture in terms of physical strength at the arm wrestling table. And a lot of people say, oh, it's drugs. It's not that. Okay, there's a difference. And I believe that there's two fundamental differences in that culture as opposed to the more Western culture. And I believe that our cultures are more similar than what you have in Russia. That's my belief. My mother's German, so ich bin auch ein klein bisschen Deutsch. They do not believe in failure, okay? In North America, we're raised on no pain, no gain. Okay? It's drilled into us from the time we're kids that you have to give every single thing you got at that table, in that practice session. When you go to the gym, I want you to fail. Okay? And this is how we believe that we get better. And what I understood from them is this is not exactly true. Not to say you're not working hard, because you're always working your very hardest. But the difference is the length of the vision. And the vision length is longer.
When you get success?
The vision length, so as opposed to looking at this one workout, they're not looking at one workout. They're looking at a year, 5 years. You know, their vision extends much further. And it's about total workload, total energy placed at the right intensities and the right movements. What it means is when you go to the gym, you don't fail. Okay, when you fail at the gym, that means you can't come back as fast. This is just a reality, okay? For the last year, I really haven't really failed in training very often. Previous to this, I was failing almost every single time I went to the gym. And I'm going to tell you, at 44 years of age, when I look at the graph, because I chart my stuff, my graph has been steeper at this age, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be steeper, but it is. And I think it's because of this subtle shift. I don't try as hard every workout. I try harder over my whole year, but I don't try my hardest every single workout. Instead of knocking myself down to here, I only knock myself down a little bit. This allows me to come back to the gym faster, okay? So I can have 3 workouts a day where I'm hitting intensities that are good for arm wrestling. Also, when I saw Denis and so many of the Russians in that culture, I realized, you know, that yes, this is a martial sport, okay? This is a fight sport. You have to know how to be fluid at the table. But in your homework, okay, when you're doing the work away from the gym, away from the team, away from the table, you want to focus on strength. And it's very hard for me to think of anything else that I want to work on, okay? People talk about speed, people talk about power, whatever, strength, okay? Like, if I get my 1 RM higher in arm wrestling, it's so hard to deal with. It's so hard to get around, especially if your vectors are accurate that you train. Okay, so for the last year, I've been doing a block, and a block is approximately 10 days. 10 days, 2 weeks, somewhere around there. 10 days, 10 repetitions. 10 days, 3 repetitions. And this just repeats over and over and over until I have a tournament, and then I'll break into a taper so I can have my peak. But everything is about strength, hypertrophy, strength, hypertrophy, over and over. It's very simple. And a lot of people talk about, oh, Devon, you should do more deadlifts. I probably should if I was a sane human being and cared about everything, but I don't. I only care about arm wrestling. So I put all my energy into these very simple movements because I know that that's what makes a difference on that table, okay? It's very hard to convince me that my deadlift makes any difference. When I look at Oleg Zok, you can't talk to me about squats. Let's just not even talk about it, okay? Oleg is not winning because of squat. You don't win in this sport because of how much you can squat or deadlift. All your energy can go where you need it, okay? And it's very simple, right? It's this. It's this. It's this. It's this. And it's this. And you can do this every single time that you train. Every single time. You can do it 3 times a day. You can do it at high intensity. Don't let people tell you that you're going to overtrain, because I've been doing it my whole life, okay? And I think I've had good results. It's measurable, okay? You can do the same things over and over and over and have good results. Okay, now, so the third thing that I learned along those lines, is that it comes back to kind of trust in yourself, trust in your goals, right? If I know what I want to achieve, I know in my whole being that I just want to be strong and I want to be a great arm wrestler. I know this through and through. And when I know that, I also know that my body's not going to lie to me. And by that, I mean you only do things that feel good. And once you realize that, it's a really nice realization. Your body is not going to lie to you, okay? The whole pain thing, you never feel pain. Never. It's not good for you. It doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't make you better. Everything should always feel good. And when you have your goal, your body will know what it wants you to do. It will feel good to lift a 1 RM. It will be one of the greatest feelings that you have, right? And your body will guide you. But you never have to go outside of that. So those are the 3 big things I learned the last year. we can take a little break and we can talk a little bit more about arm wrestling at the table. I want to show you guys what arm wrestling really means to me. Right? People talk about hooking, top rolling. To me, arm wrestling is really. Can I get one volunteer? Voluntold. Super heavyweight. Super heavyweight. Okay, so Herman and I are going to show you what, to me, arm wrestling is really all about. Okay? So our hands are together. You know, there's drives that finish the game, you know, like pulling it close, rolling through. These are all very important. But this is like the strength side of the sport. When you think about like what is technical arm wrestling is about becoming advantaged, right? You want to have advantages. So it's so much, this line right here, this is what so much of arm wrestling is about, right? There's two big lines in the sport, one off the thumb, one off the second finger. Very important. There's other lines too that are important, but think so much about this thumb line and this second finger. Now, the thumb line is how you both protect and attack your hand. Well, your opponent's hand. So when we close up, so if we just close and say, so there's the two biggest parts of hand control once the grip is set is your cup combined with your pronation. All right, so if you cup and pronate, bend my wrist back, okay, if he's stronger. If we're together, okay, kind of stalemate, but oh, he's stronger, and I bend, okay? Now, every single bit that this line changes makes a massive, massive difference, okay? If Herman gets this up just a little bit, makes all the difference in the world. And you can go from the top, or you can go, relax, you can go from the bottom. But your destination is here, right? This is where you're going. This is outside advancement, okay? The more you make your thumb big, the better. Your thumb gets bigger, so then you can roll better. It goes both ways. Herman's trying to advance his thumb line. At the same time, he's trying to bury mine, so he goes deeper. Okay, so for me, I'm trying to attack his thumb line and push farther. Okay? So, thank you. There's two big ideas. That you want to think about when you think about technical arm wrestling. The first, in my opinion, most powerful idea, I'm biased, okay? I was brought up as an outside arm wrestler, but I do recognize that these are both really valid, okay? The first idea is just to make the other person come to you. It's super, super simple, okay? It's really, really very, very important. Hey, Herman, come to me. See that? Right? It's a powerful thing to be able to make people come to you, okay? When people reach for you, they are disadvantaged. And this happens all the time in all levels of arm wrestling. If you can stand here and if you can make your thumb big, open, as wide as possible, okay, we're not even together yet, but in some magical world, we are, okay? Like we're already together. And as we start moving together, there's already an interaction that's happening. Okay, and when you have that thumb open and the other person is coming forward, they're reaching for you. They're reaching for you and they're becoming disadvantaged. You can't try and grab somebody and not expect to be punished for it. Okay? You have to have faith that if everything is neutral, when you hit back, your hand will be on top. Okay, this is the thought that will empower you to have faith to make other people come to you. Okay? Always open your thumb in the set. Okay? Always protect your thumb. Never let people grab around you. A closed thumb premature is a dangerous thing, okay? Make people come to you. Very simple. That's one idea. This is outside arm wrestling. You guys, what are the two main styles of arm wrestling?
Inside and outside.
Inside and outside, right. So if you're doing outside arm wrestling, right, it's open thumb. It's open thumb and you're being chased. Right? You are the string, they are the cat, and they swat at you. You're just out of reach. Open thumb. The other thought that is so powerful is the art of surprise. Okay? The art of surprise is a powerful, powerful thing. And that's when you start the match before the other person even knows that it started. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're moving. That just means that positionally, you are in a place of depth. Okay? So much of the arm wrestling interaction is with the shoulders. When two shoulders come forward, there's like a bone shear that starts to happen. Okay? And whoever has the shoulder more committed first has all the angles covered. Okay? So what that can look like is if I'm gonna start to arm wrestle somebody, I'll even approach them like this, right? So no matter what, I have the shoulder angle already on you, okay? So no matter what, he can't come forward. If he ever comes forward, I go even more forward. And this dance can happen long before we even come to the table. Like, have you guys seen versus Jerry Carteret, my last?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Jerry Carteret is probably the most dangerous guy with a shoulder in the World Arm Wrestling League. And that's because people just tend to run away from him. People are scared to break their arm. Nobody wants to break their arm. And by bringing your shoulder forward, I call it test your frame. Right? This is a bone sport. Right? When you bring your shoulder forward and the other person brings their shoulder forward, somebody might just break their arm. That might just happen. And the cool thing about arm wrestling is we embrace that. Like, I think that's cool. I don't know, something about it.
How many arms did you break?
I'm at 9. Yeah, but I didn't do any on purpose.
How many ones?
But you always high five them afterwards.
Yeah, hey, listen, I think that, I hope that guy does good. I always say that if you break your arm wrestling, try not to get surgery. Because I've seen a lot of people get broken arms, and if you have surgery, I think it's very limiting. If you can get it set and just suffer through a few weeks, lots of people come back stronger. There's lots of examples of guys in our sport who've gotten their arm broke, not had surgery, come back, been stronger. John Brzezinski, Zoloev, Chafee. There's lots of them. Okay? Michael Todd's broken his arm 800 times. Yeah, and he's the champ, right? So it's got to be good. It's got to be good. Yeah.
Coming back to your training, do you prepare specially certain movements for someone?
Yeah. So when I get an opponent, so when I'm issued an opponent, and I normally know who I'm going to face, well ahead of time, and I start to plan on how to defeat them. I'm going to say for basically everybody, like, you should do the things that we talked about already. You should always work your post, your roll, all the 5 strengths should be like your bread and potatoes and meat and potatoes. But yes, special people have specific answers. So for example, Jerry Carteret. Okay, I knew that I was arm wrestling Jerry Carteret for months beforehand. So you study them. The way that I prepare for opponents is the first thing that I do is I just get as much information as possible. And I try and build up a ton of respect for them because I find that that's very motivating. So I watch them win. I watch all the people that they beat. I watch how they do it. I figure out their strengths. And I do this to a point where I almost start to doubt myself. And when I start to think that I'm actually going to lose, that's when I stop watching them win. Okay, and that's when I start to focus on the way that they lose. Because people who have histories in the sport will lose the same way over and over and over. You can see it. People, you know, people do evolve, but also people are who they are, and they have their weaknesses and they have their strengths. So a guy like Jerry Cadorette is all about shoulder. He has a great press, he has a great hook, and he has a great transition to a flop wrist press, which makes him so extremely dangerous. So what that means is if you ever try to take his hand without having shoulder commitment, you're in big trouble, because he has the ability to dump. So I knew going into that match, all that mattered was that I had more shoulder commitment. I knew the only key for me at that time, at least that's what I believed, I actually found out that it wasn't totally true, was just to be relentless with my shoulder and always have a better angle, because a flop wrist press actually doesn't do well against the press. The flop wrist press does great against any kind of outside movement. So yeah, for about 3 months beforehand, every single person that I arm wrestled, I just thought they were Jerry Cadorette, and I was just all the time like arm wrestling like this, you know, just always with my shoulder forward. Anytime they even thought about coming forward, I just push my shoulder forward more, and always leading with the shoulder, first with the shoulder. When I was gonna face Dave Chafee, I knew that wasn't gonna work on Dave. I knew that the whole key to beating Dave was gonna be the King's move. As much as a lot of people hate it, yes. To me, it's about winning.
He was with Michael Todd, Dave Chafee.
To me, I don't hate on any move in arm wrestling. I think winning is cool. That's what I think. And I knew that good against hey, what's that?
Good winning is better.
Yeah, good winning is better. But if you can't win good, you still want to win. You know? Like, this was my only choice. I was, hey, listen, if I could have at any point stood there with Dave, I would have. I couldn't. It was my only way that I was going to win that day.
You can't beat him joking.
Exactly. Yeah, I need Tom Nelson, right? And that's what we did with Travis, okay? I knew I wasn't going to beat Travis like on Game of Arms, so I got Tom Nelson to beat him up. Yeah, that works too. Yeah.
If we ask Jerry, what is your biggest weakness? What will he answer?
What my biggest weakness? Well, I'd say that typically, when you look at my career, speed. Okay, speed has never been my strength. Okay, so a lot of times when things are perfectly, and if I can be controlled, like what I try and do is I make things wilder, and I am a persistence hunter. Okay, I am not a sprinter. I'm not somebody who can just hit you. I'm a person who needs to wear you down for a couple of days before I try and eat you. So that means everything that I do, I try and extend. So the key to defeating me, and I don't care, it doesn't matter, it just makes me better when more people know it, is you have to be able, arm wrestling at the moment is not a one-on-one sport. There's a person here, there's a person here, there's a crowd, okay, and everyone is involved. So if someone wants to do well, they learn how to control this person, as well as these people. And you bring them into the match, okay? If you can make every single match somehow by a miracle start fair and not have a lot of time before it starts fair, that's your advantage against me. But I'll do everything.
I don't have any advantage.
And I'll do everything I can to not make those things happen for the most part.
Philosophically spoken, you think a good way is be willing to die at the table?
I think that it's definitely a fight, right? So it is arm wrestling, and arm wrestling has different values for everybody, okay? So, and I believe that we should protect our people coming into the sport, and I think that we should protect all of our amateurs. And I think that the rule sets for amateurs should be quite different for the rule sets for the professionals, the world title matches. When it comes